Okay, how much did it cost me to move to Japan? The answer is not as much as you guys are probably thinking, or not as much as you guys may think. So I moved out here all those years ago. So we're talking 10 years ago now. So this is the 10th year for me. And I have moved to Kyoto. So Kyoto, the former capital of Japan, 2 hours west of Tokyo. And actually, Kyoto is relatively expensive compared to other parts of Japan. I'm not sure if you guys have traveled to Japan before, but depending on where you go, the prices or the living costs can vary quite drastically. Kyoto is not as expensive as Tokyo, which is the capital, but still it's more on the expensive side of things. If you was to visit and go to restaurants, overall, Japan is not too expensive, but Kyoto can be more on the pricey side of things. So bear that in mind. So when I moved here 10 years ago, the yen was more strong or stronger than it is now. So now the yen is like super weak, hence why all the tourism, because shopping is super cool in Japan and it's very cheap, especially with the tax-free. So 10 years ago, the yen was a bit stronger. But even then, it wasn't as expensive as what you guys may think, or even me, breaking down the costs, because I wanted to share this with you. I get asked this a few times. I think there's quite a lot of interest in people wanting to move to different countries. Despite the language barrier, Japan tends to be a popular destination for people. Just bumping into tourists and having conversation with them, a lot of the times they ask me, how did I move out here and how much did it cost? So obviously money is one of the biggest things that we think about when deciding to move somewhere else. But actually, ladies and gentlemen, there is hope, because I was breaking down the costs. And like I said to you just now, it really, to my surprise, didn't cost that much. I think it's more difficult kind of for me when I got here, because I didn't really have a job in place. I didn't really have a plan. So the reason why I came here in the first place is I met the landlord of my wonderful gym, this wonderful building, and I met him initially through a friend, and then coincidentally actually, but yeah, he's the one who gave me the opportunity. So let's say around 12 years ago, I came to Japan on holiday, and I came to meet a friend, and that friend used to work in this building. I then bumped into the landlords, and because I spoke or speak English and Japanese very well, he took a liking in me, and yeah, we just started talking, and he's like, what do you do? At the time, I was a trainer. I have always been a trainer, and I was a trainer in London. And things were going well at the time. I didn't really have any reason to complain or to move out. But he basically said, listen, you speak the language. If you want, you can come out here. I do have space in this building. Feel free to do your own thing. It took a second time coming, actually. So even though he planted that seed in my head initially, I didn't really feel the desire or the urge to move. Although looking back now, I think I always was looking for something. I always did want to move to this country and experience living here at one point. But yeah, anyway, that's a different story. So that I was 12 years ago, let's say, or 11 years ago, something like that. And then I met him the following year. And yeah, he said the same thing. He said, listen, the opportunity is still here for you. If you want, you can come out here and move. And it was at that point when I decided, fuck it, let's do it. Let's see what happens. And it literally was kind of like a switch moment where I didn't have any plan. Okay, I'm going to move out here to do X, Y, and Z. It was nothing like that. It was, okay, I'm going to move out here. Let's get the ball rolling. And literally since deciding that, having that switch moment, I think like 3 or 4 months later, I was out here. Pretty crazy. Obviously to the surprise of my clients at the time, as well as my family even, which they didn't really ask too many questions, believe it or not. But yeah, so that was the decision made. And then how much does it cost? What's the process? This kind of stuff. Let's ignore the visa stuff during this video. So obviously visas can cost a little bit, although not as much as, for example, I know some foreign friends who moved to London, like the visas can be very expensive. Japan isn't too expensive when it comes to visas, although I did hear that they are increasing their prices, but don't quote me on that one. Anyway, at the time, visa prices and stuff wasn't an issue. The main thing I think you think about when you move to another country is how much is the rent gonna be? That's probably the first thing. So we all need a roof over our heads. So how much is rent going to be? And I had no idea what Kyoto is like when it comes to living, literally nothing at all. As I mentioned at the start of the video, Kyoto can be more expensive compared to other parts of Japan, but still cheaper than Tokyo. But even then, at the time, I had no idea what the average costs of living was for Japan. But yeah, so I was looking online for an apartment because obviously I was living in London. I couldn't physically check out apartments myself. So just looking online, and I found an apartment that had everything included. By everything, I mean utility bills and also furniture. Because one funny thing about Japan, when you move house, you need to buy your own furniture every time. Strangely, right? So when you move house, you have to move with your furniture. You can either take it to your new place or you literally have to get rid of it and sell it. So yeah, I found this place and all the furniture and everything was included. All the utility bills was included. So it was easy moving, easy transition rather. And the rent for this place, I've written a few numbers down, was 77,000 yen. 77,000 yen, 77,000 yen, which actually isn't that much. If you break it down into sterling now, it works out to be around between 350 and 400 pound a month, which is nothing if you think about how crazy it costs to live in London, right? Absolutely nothing, peanuts. At the time, like I said, the yen was stronger, so this was probably around 600 pounds, I would say, which still isn't too expensive. I mean, don't get it wrong, it wasn't a bougie place or anything. It was a 1K. So in Japan, they use LDK to measure the size or the different facilities in an apartment. So LDK is living, dining, kitchen. If, for example, you have a place that's 1 LDK, you've got 1 living room, 1 dining, and 1 kitchen. My place was a humble 1K, which means there was only 1 kitchen. No living room, you basically got 1 room, which is where the bed is, the desk is, whatever it's going to be. Nothing incredible, nothing big. You've got the corridor where the kitchen was, and then you've got toilet and bathroom. So yeah, very humble studio apartment, studio flat, and that cost me 77,000 yen, which is, not that expensive. And there was no contract either, which is what I liked about this place. So it was very quote unquote foreigner friendly, right? Yeah, so I found this place. And besides that, obviously another main another main financial concern, especially when I'm running my own business, was how much is the rent going to cost for my business? And this is where this is where the wonderful part of this video comes from. So basically, my landlord, being an incredible human that he is, and seeing the potential in me that he did, I don't want to say past tense, I want to say that he sees me even to this day. But anyway, he said to me, listen, when you first come out here, he says, you don't need to pay any rent because I want to see how well you do. If you do well and you build a bit of momentum, then we can talk business and we could talk numbers then. But at the start, at least, don't worry about it, which is an amazing fucking thing for someone to be able to do. You hear stories in London, how landlords are just trying to rip you off all the time and always trying to take from you, take your money from you, take everything away from you. But this guy, he God bless him, he said, I don't need to pay rent. And of course, I didn't pay rent. So yeah, that was an amazing bonus for me. Having said that, obviously I didn't have any income because I wasn't employed. It's not like I had a job line in place. And even my gym was not like what you see today. It was a rental studio at the time. So other businesses, other self-employed people were renting the space for their own use. And I was one of those. But thankfully, piece by piece, I managed to build momentum and kick them all out. And now it is all mine, yours truly. So yeah, that's a cool story in itself. But yeah, so that rent cost I didn't have, which is amazing. Still no income though. Still no income. But here comes another great story, guys. So when I first moved here, I brought kind of like my savings in cash, which isn't a lot of money at all. I brought 70 man. So 70 man in sterling now is around 3,500 pounds. That's all I have, 3,500 pounds. At the time, the yen was a bit stronger, so let's say it was worth around 5 grand. So I brought 5 grand in cash, and that was it. No income, nothing like that. paying the rent in my house, which was around £500 at the time. Obviously, food costs. I mean, you'll be surprised with how cheap you can get by eating. Obviously, being a trainer, I wasn't having pot noodles every day. I was still, able to do a little bit of cooking. So for all the single lads out there, all single ladies out there, one thing that helped me a lot or continues to help me is something called a silicone steamer, where you literally just chop up vegetables, meat, whatever it is, put it in the silicone steamer, microwave it, and it all comes up steamed and ready. I was going to say tasty there, but I'm not too sure about tasty. But anyway, at least it's food in your belly and you can be relatively healthy that way. So that doesn't cost much at all. At least it didn't at the time. Like I said, when you're in these situations, you'll be surprised to how much you can actually get by without spending too much money. But anyway, 3.5K to 5 grand at the time was all I had with no income. But yes, going back to the amazing part of the story. So just before I moved to Japan, I met a Japanese lady around 2 weeks before I moved to Japan, actually. I met her through someone in the gym, a different person who was just a member in the gym. I was talking to him and he mentioned that he knows a Japanese lady who has a shoulder problem. And I said I might be able to help her out because I am a massage therapist. And yes, so I had a session with her and, she was very happy with what I delivered and she wanted to book another session, in which I said, I'm sorry, but there won't be another session because I am moving to Japan. Yes, and then she said, where are you going? I said, Kyoto. And she said, oh, if you're in Kyoto, she said, I know someone in Osaka who runs her own business. It's a Castella business. So Castella is a Japanese sweet. Believe it or not, it's originally from Portugal, but Castella is like a traditional Japanese sweet. And this lady, her friend, runs a relatively large company. And she said the friend wants to expand that company internationally. And she was looking for someone who can teach English to her employees. English that can be applied, business English that can be applied onto the world stage. And yeah, it was at that timing where obviously I just appeared into her life. She was just told that her friend was looking for an English teacher. So she said, when you get to Kyoto, let me know so I can hook you up with my friend in Osaka. And yeah, I mean, listen, that's serendipity. That is luck, as you may say, destiny, as you may say as well. But slightly off topic here, but you'll be surprised with how many doors open when you decide to take action. I think many times we just hesitate and then this fear factor comes and then we end up not moving. We end up not doing anything. But if it is the right thing to do at that moment in time and you have the balls and the courage to actually take action, doors open, miraculous doors open. And I can look back at this 10 years and I can say that has been a trend on repeat, which I'm very grateful and happy for. And with me, things always happen through meeting the right people at the right time. And yeah, that is something I do not take for granted. And being in Japan, I remind myself every day, even through just looking at the mountains and just, feeling the energy and yeah, just feeling grateful to be here. But yes, slightly off topic there perhaps, but yes, that job landed me nothing amazing, but it gave me 70,000 yen. So it basically turned out to be, I met up the lady and we decided that I will be the English teacher. I will go a couple of times a month, nothing crazy, 2-3 times a month, nothing too crazy, because obviously my main thing was I wanted to set up my business, which was the gym. I couldn't afford anyone to make my website or anything like that at the time, so I had to do everything myself, building my website and slowly kind of like, taking over the space, maybe get a yoga mat or two, get a dumbbell or two, the other employees or the other people renting out this place, they're getting the idea, I'm slowly trying to infiltrate. But yes, so that was the process of starting my gym. We could make a video about how I started my gym, but at least for now, let's just talk about the financial side of things. So yes, teaching English landed me a whopping 70,000 yen a month. 70,000 yen a month, which at the time was around, what, £300, I would say. Rather, the yen now, sorry, is around £300. 350 at the time. So this was just below the rent for my house. My rent for my house was 77 thousand yen. This was 70,000 yen. But still, kind of basically I could break even at least with my house. And then my life savings of around 5 grand was used for things like food, travel costs, all this kind of stuff. But, kind of being aware of how I'm spending basically. So yeah, shout out to the person who employed me at the time. I don't have a relationship with them anymore, unfortunately, but I was going to say, she or they served their purpose at the time for me, which is an amazing thing. So yeah, that was actually my first job in Japan, teaching English, as many foreigners may have experienced or may experience. Yes, and guys, I mean, that is pretty much all the costs that I can think of. So actually, there is hope if you want to move to another country. It really does not cost as much as you may think. And I suppose it was easier for me because I was single, didn't have any family, all that kind of stuff. But then at the same time, I didn't have a job in place either. So I'm sure for many people, when they want to move house, or move country, sorry, when they want to move country, they have a job line in place. I didn't have that. So, you can't say, but you had this and I don't have this, when, there's always something, right? It just depends on whether you want to do it or not. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have to share, really. I think it could be quite surprising. It surprised me looking back now, actually. Like I said, when you think you're going to move country, you're thinking about how expensive it's going to be. But no, it's actually very, very affordable. Yeah, it just depends on whether you want to do it or not, really. But all good. If you have any more questions, feel free to hit me up, make any comments. I'm happy to kind of like make videos according to whatever you guys want to hear. I think Japan is a place a lot of people are interested in. So yeah, if you have anything, feel free to hit me up. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and support this new and growing channel. And I will see you guys very soon. お疲れ様です。Peace. One cut, baby, one cut. As always.